Okay, so I don't want to meander in this video. I want to get right to the point and say I want to talk about the leaked design document for Resident Evil 3 Remake, because there is some interesting and juicy stuff in this design document with how they try to market the game and how they try to think up the idea and tailor Project Resistance to the masses. And honestly, that was like very 50-50. I know some people enjoyed Project Resistance. I know some other people really didn't care about it. So let's talk about these slides that I found. And of course, I'm not going to read it all because I want to have this video like short for time convenience. But I will say I will give my thoughts on every slide unless it is a duplicate, which I will not go over twice. The first screen cap right here is pretty basic shit when you're talking about PR jargon, company aspirations, what we want on Metacritic, and how this is going to be equivalent to stuff like Dead by Daylight as an asymmetrical multiplayer experience. We knew that's what Project Resistance was going to be. What we didn't know is that the code name was going to be called Outbreakers, and that this was going to be akin in name only to Resident Evil Outbreak. And I think they went in the right direction calling it something else, because that would have pissed people off if it didn't piss people off enough already. Because even if they changed that name, people still compared this to Resident Evil Outbreak, saying that this was garbage, we don't want it, we're not into the asymmetrical scene, give us Resident Evil Outbreak, give us pure story-driven co-op. And that's what the fans really wanted. And I think the name would have made that point even worse. Though, since they thought about it, since they decided to act against it, I don't think it's too bad at the end of the day in the grand scheme. Just, it's all the other stuff with them cutting out mercenaries for Resident Evil Resistance. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, the deeper that I read this, it pisses me the fuck off, because while I think it was a good idea to change the name of Outbreakers, it apparently was a fake leak to begin with. They said that they called it that on purpose to mislead the community to expect a new Biohazard online game and then reveal the actual asymmetrical multiplayer experience. That means that this was all planned. They played all the Outbreak community people, all the people involved like a fiddle, right? With the fake fucking leak. This is bullshit right here. This is complete bullshit. Like, why are you playing with our emotions? Capcom, you know what we want with Resident Evil Outbreak. Why did you tie it into RE3 with this whole asymmetrical experience? And it was a planned leak all along in order to incentivize people to get RE3, because it seems like you knew that a lot of stuff was being compromised as you built this game from the ground up. You know, I don't get that shit. That part is dumb. It is extremely dumb, and it deserves all the ire that it gets. Now I'm looking at the rest of this. So I guess you could say this was the original post-launch plan for RE Resistance. They wanted the multiplayer to thrive amongst the streamer community. You got people like Dr. Disrespect, other people on here. They wanted this game to carry the torch through live stream viewers. And I think for a while it was doing that, because there were people playing the game, but for a mainstream appeal, it wasn't on like Dead by Daylight's level. Let's be real, like there's still people within the thousands streaming Dead by Daylight day after day after day. And as you can see, the numbers, they don't lie, people. There's not a solitary lie in the numbers. We have 35 concurrent viewers for Resident Evil Resistance on Twitch, and then for Dead by Daylight we have 18.5k concurrent viewers right now at the break of like 6 in the morning where I live. This is fucking absurd. Whatever Capcom planned in terms of a rival for Dead by Daylight, you failed. It's over. Pack it up, go home, and cry to your mama. I'm just joshing, Capcom, though that was a pretty shady thing to do. This one is also a bit contentious because the campaign mode, being 5 to 6 hours in length, is extremely short by modern standards for a premium price title. Now, I'm gonna have the point of contention here. While Remake 3 cuts out a lot of shit, Resident Evil games as a conventional standard have always been mostly short. I say mostly because the rare exception seems to be Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 4. Those games were like 20 to 30 hours long, whereas this one is 5 hours. Then they say, much has been spoken about the volume of the single player portion. To verify, we're still looking at around 5 hours for a standard playthrough. Aside from the multiplayer game, are there any replayability modes or features planned for the single player side? Now, there could have been more for single player, but guess what? They didn't do it. They cut mercenaries out and they focused all on Project Resistance. They wanted that multiplayer cruise to sail, which is why they bundled this multiplayer offering with Resident Evil 3 Remake. And many people, like, they called that out. Many people called that out, and that's basically the drive, because what else are you replaying the game for outside of the other difficulty modes like Inferno, Nightmare, and getting all the stuff in the shop? After that, Resident Evil 3 Remake is done in terms of replay value. They don't have the things like live selection back, so you can't see alternate sides of the story. They don't have mercenaries. What else is there for single player if you basically pulled all that out of the game? It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. Now I'm going back through these slides, right? It seems that the stage progression has always been built from the ground up for this remake to exclude some of the key moments like the clock tower and everything, like the park, because the sequence is Jill's apartment, the police station, the hospital, uptown, downtown, and the underground lab. They don't really elaborate or focus on the other levels. This was the original plan, to have these moments from the original Resident Evil 3 and exclude all the other stages. Now, there are some places and there are some monsters that I really kinda don't care for in the original RE3. Like, I thought some of the park was kinda you know? It was cool fighting the worm, but he was kind of annoying in the sewers. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this at all. Like, I love the original RE3 from a content perspective. It's just the dodging was ass, and the game was definitely not perfect, but it was miles ahead of Resident Evil 3 Remake from a content perspective. From a gameplay perspective, I will say the remake controls better, and that's how I felt about it when distinguishing both reviews. But you know, it's common. They tried to have this contemporary, and it definitely worked out in their favor for that alone. But I wanted more time within Raccoon City. It felt like the Raccoon streets were reduced. It felt like there could have been more time at the beginning. It's only like 10 minutes, whereas the beginning in RE3 was much longer. And also, they cut other stuff like Raccoon Press and the fucking graveyard, and oh my god, I could go on a giant tirade about all that stuff that I sincerely missed and didn't miss, and things I cited that I liked and didn't like, but I'm just gonna go on to more of the steals. There it is, the original steal for Resident Evil Escape. You know, that's a riveting name. Like, I would keep that subtitle for something else in the future. Just saying, like, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Resident Evil Escape. You know, that's cool. That's like, I mean, why not? Come on, man. So I wanted to show just one quick driving point. And this was the original plan, and they always planned to release RE3 Remake after RE2 a year later. So that was going to be right on time. But I know people constantly say, oh, well, that means that they rushed the game. I keep hearing that RE3 Remake was in development at the same time as RE2 Remake. So this was always the initial plan. These two put together, and what distinguishes them from each other is just that clearly they wanted this plan for them to share the same universe, while the original also shared that, and they also wanted to say, hey, this is coming out a year later. If I would have had the option to have this forethought and know what they were going to do with this game, I would have said delay it until like 2021 and put all the content that you cut out back into the package. So let's continue on as I slap my knee real quick. Slap the shit out of my knee. God damn, don't delete the file, asshole. Okay, I'm keeping that in. The last thing to say about Outbreakers is that it looked cool that they had a little story plan, a little prologue before they did stuff. Now, back to RE3, the final two things rather. These are some of the designs that they planned. Obviously, the Hunter beta looked like this. Now, some people might say, I prefer them looking pink and having tumors come out of their head. You know, it's all relative, you know. The drain demos look nasty. I love it. Like in the main game, they're so small. But in this one, they look a little bit more disgusting for the beta design. And then the Hunter, I mean, the Hunter Gamma, I kind of liked how it looked in Resident Evil Remake. I'm not gonna lie, Resident Evil 3 Remake. But this one kind of harkens back to the original design, except you can see more teeth, and you could tell that they wanted to do it exactly like the original one. Like, it's almost a one-for-one with this one. Let's address the elephant in the room with this last one. Final Nemesis looks sick. It's like a combination of Dog Nemesis from RE3 Remake and a combination of some of the original design. Like, he has no head. This looks like an Evil Within enemy. It looks disgusting as fuck, and I love how Final Nemesis used to look before they gave us the weird Congo Bongo mutation that was in the final game. I also like the fact that Nemesis didn't have his limiter in this game. Like, he completely skipped to the Dog Nemesis transformation in Resident Evil 3 Remake, and I always thought it was weird that they got rid of the version with the tentacles on his arms, and you can see him all scarred up and burned after that situation with Jill. But this is the weird point, because they used to have a plot point where this creature ruthlessly obeyed Umbrella's orders, relentlessly targeting Jill throughout Resident Evil 3 because she carries the cure for the T-virus inside of her bloodstream. I think that's dumb. I am happy they changed that shit, because the antibodies did not kick in until after she was infected. Come on, man, this is basic storytelling 101. It did not kick in until after she was infected, and then Jill started becoming special virus-wise. It makes no excuse to say, well, we're gonna go back and alter this and say, oh, the entire time she had special antibodies to the T-virus. That's bullshit. That's like, come on, what is the point of Nemesis even infecting her later in the game unless that was changed? Like, I don't get that plot point at all. Like, but I'm glad it didn't happen in the game. She gets infected as she normally does, and then Carlos has to make a cure. And that's it for now. You can see the heart right here too, outside of the body. That's cool too. That's it for this design document. Clearly, I'm not feeling some of these changes that they made or planned to make, but it was interesting going into this deep dive and experimenting and talking about everything that I felt. If you want to see all the stuff that I talked about before with RE3, like I said, is going to be in my cards, so you'll see my thoughts on the cut content and my review on RE3 Remake and my review on the original, and all that's going to be there for the masses. I'm going to put up my shiny little description card where you can follow me on social media. You can find me there, Twitter, Twitch, all that good jazz, and we could talk it up anytime you feel like it. Just hit me up, tell me what you thought about this video, tell me what you thought about Capcom's design principles for RE3 Remake, and I will get back to you in the most convenient way possible. This is Renegade Operative signing off. Hopefully you guys have a good day, take care, and once again, later.